Have you ever wondered what happened to the funeral of Barbara Stanwyck, one of Hollywood's most renowned uncrowned queens? A cinematic icon with a brilliant career spanning over 6 decades, yet she passed away in unusual silence. Why did a figure of such influence not have a public farewell ceremony? The answer is revealed with a series of explanations, stories behind it that you won't believe your ears. From Ruby Stevens to Barbara Stanwyck. To understand why Barbara Stanwyck, a star of such magnitude, chose an unconventional departure, we must go back in time to her earliest days. Born Ruby Catherine Stevens in 1907 in Brooklyn, New York, young Ruby's life was tinged with tragedy from a very early age. At just 4 years old, her mother passed away in a tragic accident. Less than a year later, her father left, abandoning Ruby and her 4 siblings. She was sent to foster families, then lived in an orphanage, a childhood devoid of affection and stability, a stark contrast to the dazzling spotlight she would later achieve. The continuous hardship and losses forged an extraordinary steel will within Ruby. With no one to rely on, she learned to be independent, to find her own way to survive and rise. The obsession with insecurity and the desperate desire to control her own life became deeply ingrained in the young woman's subconscious. This was not just a difficult beginning, but the foundation that shaped Barbara Stanwyck's later strong, resilient, and at times intensely private personality, traits that would explain many of her choices, including her final decision regarding her funeral. Ruby Stevens's teenage years were also not easy. To make a living, she had to drop out of school at 14 and work various odd jobs, from wrapping packages in department stores to cutting dress patterns. However, the flame of art soon ignited within her. With a burning passion for the stage, Ruby began auditioning and eventually found her path as a chorus girl in nightclubs and theaters. The big break came when she was cast in the Broadway play The Noose in 1926. It was director David Belasco who suggested she change her name, and thus Barbara Stanwyck was born, a name that carried both grace and an underlying strength. Although her first role wasn't a resounding success, Stanwyck quickly proved her innate acting talent in subsequent plays, especially Burlesque 927, where she displayed remarkable immersive ability and attracted the attention of Hollywood filmmakers. Upon moving to the film capital, Barbara Stanwyck didn't take long to establish herself. She quickly overcame initial difficulties and became one of the most sought-after faces. From her challenging days in Brooklyn to the pinnacle of glory in Hollywood, Stanwyck's journey is a testament to extraordinary willpower and a woman's ability to shape her own destiny. But it was that very independence, coupled with a tumultuous private life and an intense desire for absolute privacy, that would be crucial pieces in explaining why her funeral was never held. A great actress of all genres. As the name Barbara Stanwyck began to resonate throughout Hollywood, the world witnessed the rise of a rare talent, an actress unwilling to be confined by any mold. She quickly became a true chameleon, capable of phenomenal transformations across countless film genres, from gritty dramas, mischievous romantic comedies to dark and haunting film noirs. The 1930s and 1940s marked Stanwyck's peak. She left her mark with a series of iconic roles portraying complex, strong, and independent female characters. Roles she delivered with such authenticity that audiences felt they were watching a slice of real life. Who could forget her portrayal of the self-sacrificing mother in Stella Dallas 1937, which earned her her first Oscar nomination? Or the quick-witted, sharp nightclub singer confronting a professor in Howard Hawks' Ball of Fire 1941. However, it was her dangerous woman roles that truly elevated Stanwyck to legendary status. In Billy Wilder's classic Double Indemnity 1944, she transformed into Phyllis Dietrichson, a cold, cunning, and fatally seductive femme fatale. This role not only earned her another Oscar nomination, but also solidified her position as a master in portraying the complexities of human nature. Audiences were utterly captivated by her sharp gaze, enigmatic smile, and confidently powerful demeanor. A year prior in Preston Sturges's The Lady Eve, 1941 Stanwyck, displayed an entirely different facet, a charming, intelligent, and humorous con artist creating an excellent romantic comedy. Stanwyck's acting style was consistently praised for its authenticity, unpretentious yet impactful. She didn't need grand gestures. With just a look, a small movement, she could convey the deep emotions and thoughts of her characters. Her professionalism, iron discipline on set, and quick memorization skills were also prominent traits. Stanwyck was deeply respected by directors and colleagues not only for her talent, but also for her serious work ethic and team spirit. Despite reaching the pinnacle of fame and being hailed as one of the greatest actresses of all time, Barbara Stanwyck maintained a humble and private demeanor. She was never truly comfortable with the glitz and clamor of Hollywood. This very detachment, coupled with a burning desire for a private and peaceful life, begins to reveal some insight into why she chose to have no funeral. The dazzling cinematic spotlight illuminated her career, but her personal life held private corners, secrets that will gradually be revealed in the next part. Private secrets and quiet relationships. Behind the dazzling stage lights and screens, Barbara Stanwyck's life was a series of secrets, complex relationships, and a burning desire for privacy. Although admired by millions, she remained a solitary and reserved woman, especially concerning personal matters. These experiences shaped her character and indirectly molded her final wishes. Her first marriage to comedian Frank Fay was a tumultuous and tragic story. Fay, a bigger star than Stanwyck when they married, gradually grew jealous and bitter as his wife's career soared while his declined. Their relationship was marred by Fay's alcohol abuse and persistent conflicts. Although they adopted a son, Dion Anthony Tony Fay, this marriage eventually dissolved in 1935, leaving Stanwyck with deep emotional scars and a bitter lesson about the fragility of happiness. Later, Barbara Stanwyck found love with the handsome actor Robert Taylor. Their romance was considered Hollywood's golden marriage, attracting widespread public and media attention. They married in 1939, and at first glance they seemed like the perfect couple. However, behind the glamorous facade, this relationship also faced challenges. Both were major stars with busy schedules and public pressure. They had no children together, and rumors of extramarital affairs, especially on Taylor's part, gradually eroded trust. Despite efforts to maintain a perfect image, this marriage ultimately ended in 1951. This breakup once again reinforced Stanwyck's belief in protecting her privacy and independence. Throughout her life, Stanwyck was exceptionally private about her personal relationships. She never liked to flaunt or turn her private life into a public spectacle. She cherished genuine friendships and especially her own privacy. This stemmed from her inherent nature and also from the traumas she had endured. She learned that sometimes the best way to protect herself and those she loved was to keep her private life out of the reach of flashbulbs and gossip. It was these lessons from failed relationships, coupled with her independent character and intense desire for an unscrutinized life, that gradually shaped Barbara Stanwyck's wishes for how she wanted to be remembered and how she wanted to depart. Her desire for no public funeral was not a sign of disrespect, but the culmination of a life that always prioritized privacy and self-determination, a choice consistent with who she was from her humble beginnings to her legendary status. The answer to the silence. Now, we come to the crux of the story. What has puzzled many fans and enthusiasts for decades. Why was Barbara Stanwyck's funeral never held? The answer lies in her own final wishes, expressed clearly and resolutely. As her final years approached, Barbara Stanwyck withdrew from the spotlight, spending more quiet time away from the bustle of Hollywood. She experienced health issues, but maintained her characteristic resilience and privacy. And it was during this period that she made a deeply personal decision, one entirely consistent with who she was. She explicitly willed that she did not want any public funeral. This was not an act of indifference or disrespect towards those who loved her, but a deliberate choice reflecting her life philosophy. There were several significant reasons behind this wish. More than anything else, Barbara Stanwyck always craved a private and peaceful life. She had dedicated her entire life to art, but at the same time, she had endured the scrutiny and invasiveness of the public and media concerning her private life. When facing death, she wanted to depart peacefully without commotion, crowds, or ostentation. She wanted her passing to be as private as the way she had lived, not becoming a public event. Additionally, Stanwyck, despite being a major star, never truly belonged to the glamorous, artificial world of Hollywood. She was a practical woman who disliked pretense or elaborate ceremonies. To her, a public funeral might have been turned into a performance rather than a sincere memorial. She wanted to avoid that at all costs. Beyond not wanting a funeral, Barbara Stanwyck also clearly willed that she be cremated and her ashes scattered over her beloved land in Lone Pine, California, a place associated with beautiful memories from her career while filming westerns. This was a symbolic act, showing her desire to merge with nature, returning to the peace she always sought. Given these clear and strong wishes, Barbara Stanwyck's close relatives and family fully respected and carried out her will. No public memorial service was held. Her passing occurred in silence exactly as she wished. This may leave many feeling regretful for not having the opportunity to bid farewell to a legend, but it was the final choice of a woman who dictated everything in her life from her very first steps to the end of her journey. The enduring legacy of a legend who needed no funeral. Barbara Stanwyck's decision to forego a funeral did not diminish the grand legacy she left for the film industry and for future generations of actors. On the contrary, this unique choice highlighted a crucial aspect of her character, a woman who lived and departed on her own terms without needing ostentation or traditional ceremonies to affirm her worth. Stanwyck's artistic influence is undeniable. She was not just a movie star, but also a pioneering role model. In an era when many actresses were often typecast into stereotypical roles, Barbara Stanwyck bravely broke all boundaries. She was one of the first to authentically and multidimensionally portray strong, independent, strong-willed, and sometimes complex, even dangerous women on screen. From introspective leading ladies to sharp antagonists, she paved the way for many distinctive female characters that followed. Her versatility, professionalism, and the emotional power she brought to each role became a guiding principle for many young actors to emulate. She constantly learned and challenged herself, always seeking fresh roles to avoid stagnation. Barbara Stanwyck's legacy does not lie in the number of mourners at a service or in solemn eulogies. Her legacy resides in every frame, every line of dialogue, every emotion she dedicated to audiences through hundreds of films. It lies in the prestigious awards she received. Though she never won an Oscar in an acting category, the Academy honored her with a Lifetime Achievement Award. More importantly, her legacy endures in the minds of audiences and in her ongoing influence on the seventh art. Her funeral-less passing is also a profound lesson in personal resolve and the right to choose. In an industry that constantly emphasizes image and public attention, Barbara Stanwyck proved that a legend doesn't need a crowd to be recognized. She lived a life she wholly determined from her arduous beginnings to her resounding successes, and even to her very last moment. The decision to have no funeral was the ultimate expression of that autonomy, a powerful statement that she was the master of her own life until her last breath, and she had the right to decide how she wished to be remembered. So even without a formal ceremony to bid her farewell, Barbara Stanwyck remains a shining star. Her quiet death did not diminish her greatness. On the contrary, It further cemented the image of a resilient private woman who always held steadfast to her unique identity despite all the glamour and external pressures. Barbara Stanwyck's legacy doesn't need final applause or flowery eulogies. Her legacy lies in every iconic role, in her phenomenal versatility, and in the pioneering spirit she brought to cinema. More importantly, it lies in the profound message of resilience, independence, and the right to choose. Her silent death is a powerful statement that the value of a person of a legend lies not in how they are sent off, but in how they lived and left their unique mark. Stanwyck's choice has likely made many ponder. This raises a big question for us. In your opinion, where does a true legend's legacy lie? In roaring applause and grand ceremonies, or in their unwavering commitment to living authentically and in their quietest life choices? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this story interesting and want to explore more mysterious tales about Hollywood legends, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our upcoming articles.